He is now medical director of rehabilitation at St. Luke's and became aware that a critical piece of equipment is missing from the recovery process, a balance master. He has set a goal to climb Mount Mora. He has assembled a team to help, and with courage and determination, he will climb Mount Mora on August 17th. I'm now going to let him tell us why. Please welcome Dr. John Myers.
So one of the things I'm really passionate about, and I talked about this the last time I was here, was the concept of recovery close to home. And it's really near and dear to my heart because when I had my spinal cord injury, I had to make a decision about where I was going to do my rehab, because I was injured actually in Montana, but my family lived in Des Moines at the time. So I had to make a decision. Was I going to go home, rehab there? Was I going to stay in Montana? Was I going to go to a center of excellence somewhere else in the country? And I chose to go home, and it made a world of difference for me. And I've seen that played out time and time again throughout my career as a rehab physician, where when patients have better social support, they do better. And if you're going to need help when you go home, how does your family learn how to provide that help if they can't be there while you're doing the rehab? And so when I came to Twin Falls, my first big mission was to make sure we had a rehab unit in the new hospital. And that's when I came and spoke with you. And really, I just wanted you guys to spread the word about why this was an important service. And with a lot of work and a lot of help from a lot of other people, we made it happen. And so we now have, we're housed in the medical plaza at St. Luke's. On the third floor is the Gwen Nielsen Rehabilitation Center. And the other big thing I wanted to point out that we've achieved twice now since the rehab unit opens, we have sort of the highest accreditation from, it's called CARF, which is the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. So it's a huge process to undergo a CARF accreditation. We've been successful twice, and both times we just underwent our most recent survey, and both times we've passed the flying colors. So that was one favor I wanted to ask, is just sort of spread the word that the service is out there. If you ever know someone that needs it, make sure they know there's an option close to home. The next thing, and this is the main focus of the talk, is I wanted to talk a little bit about balance. And so balance, to help you understand why we're trying to bring this device, the Balance Master, to Twin Falls, I think it's important to understand a little bit of sort of the basics of balance. And really, there are sort of three systems in our body that help us with our balance. And I like to think of balance as like a three-legged stool. And if you take one of those legs out, you're going to have a pretty unstable seat. From the day we start crawling to the day we take our last steps and can no longer do it on our own, our body is always processing vast amounts of information so that we can stay upright and avoid falls. So one is our vision, and if you've ever tried to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you know that without vision, it's a little trickier to balance, but it can be done, but it's not easy. Another is this remarkable structure we have in our inner ear called our vestibular system, and there's a series of canals. These wonderful structures called semicircular canals, they have this amazing fluid inside them, and inside those canals there's these little hair cells, and they detect movement. And there's three canals, and they're oriented in three different planes. So if you've ever spun yourself around in a chair and then stopped and felt really dizzy, that's because once you've stopped, that fluid in those canals is still going around and stimulating the hair cells inside your ear. And then the last thing is sort of our sensory system. And the fancy medical term we use for this is proprioception. So this is our body's ability to sense where we are in space without looking at it. So if I were to close my eyes, place my arm out and bend my elbow, I could describe for you what position my arm is in. That's proprioception. And when you lose that, whether it's because you have severe diabetes and maybe you've lost sensation in your feet and legs, or you have some other condition, that too can impair your balance. So these three things together are what really make it possible for people to do the complex things and the really basic things we do every day. When there are issues with balance, and there are plenty of things that can go wrong, it's a real challenging thing to rehabilitate. So this device is really fantastic because the Balance Master system allows the therapist to manipulate any one of those three areas of sensory input that I talked about. It allows them to collect really perfectly objective data, and it also, as you can see in the picture of the patient with the harness, it has a safety feature built in. So if patients do lose their balance, which they always do during these treatments, they don't come tumbling to the ground. The therapist can through programming the computer, can actually have the device move in different orientations to throw off your balance. The force plate on the bottom not only senses your weight distribution and various aspects of your stance, but also moves if therapist programmed it to do so. And then there's a computer screen in front that will give the patient targets to shift their weight to. So maybe there's an object on the screen and it tells the patient, try to move the ball to the right, and the patient will lean, and because of that response on the force plate, the ball moves. So it's challenging that visual system again. So there's all these really wonderful things that a therapist can do in this setting, and a single therapist at that, not worry about the patient getting hurt, and also at the same time collect really meaningful data that can help devise an even more effective treatment plan going forward. Now, one of these in the entire Magic Valley. Part of the reason is the price tag is very hefty. It's a $125,000 piece of equipment, and then once you purchase it, you have to have a therapist that's skilled enough to use it. It has to have advanced certifications. Well, we started the other way. We started with the therapist, got them the training and the certifications. We're in a position now where we're ready to have someone that can run the machine, but we want to bring the machine to the communities. How do you prevent them from falling? Well, this is a tool that can actually help us with that. And then there's a whole variety of other indications that you can use this as a supplement to people's therapy. So I mentioned I had a spinal cord injury. I used this in my own rehab. It was hugely beneficial for me with fall risk. And so we've been saving for this machine for 4 years, and we have a whopping $20,000. We have a long way to go to reach $125,000. Would it be at all inspiring if someone with a spinal cord injury climbed Mount Bora? Now, I know Mount Bora is not Mount Everest. I know a lot of people have done it. There's probably people in this room that have climbed Mount Bora. I think anyone that has climbed it will tell you it is a very challenging climb. It's a full day of climbing, so, for anyone that's able-bodied. For someone like myself, it's especially challenging. And my thought was, if I did it, would that inspire people to maybe consider giving so they can bring this device to the community? I was talking to someone that climbed it recently, and they said, the first part, until you get up to the ridge, if it were any steeper, you'd have to use your hands. So it's just barely tame enough that you can hike it, but it's really difficult. And it's about a 5,400 foot elevation change in about 3.5 miles. And the average round trip time, or the average person doing a hike that's in relatively good shape, is about 10 hours. So that's, I do have to say, I'm not the average guy. So I was in this really bad car accident, and I think I shared the same picture with you guys when I was here 5 years ago. In Montana, this was back in 1999. My brother fell asleep at the wheel. When the dust settled, I was paralyzed from the neck down. I'm someone who, at the end of the day, I'm whooped. I mean, just from walking around the hospital and being in my clinic, that's hard for me. I expend about 80% more energy for every step, so if you didn't see me walk in, take a glimpse on the way out, I don't exactly have a sexy walk. And that's because I have a few things going on. I have foot drop on one side, I wear a brace, I have a condition called spasticity where the muscles are tight and I have no control over that. So I'm sort of fighting the pathology every step I take. So I want any sort of accolade. I'm doing it because I want to bring this awareness about this lack of a service we have in the community, and I'm also doing it because I want our community to have it. I love Twin Falls. I've been here 7 years. I think we should have access to all the same things that our counterparts in Boise have. I think everything they have in Salt Lake we should have here if possible, and I think this is something we can really do. I'm pretty excited. We're almost halfway to our goal of 125,000, and I'm as confident that we're going to raise the money as I am that I'll get to the top. We're going to have a custom-made flag that says Bora for Balance 2016, and we're going to sell spots on the flag for different groups that want to donate to the cause. So these are the 3 ways I think you guys could help with this. One would be if the group wanted to make a pledge, that would be awesome. If individuals in the audience want to make donations, we would certainly welcome that. And like I said, small steps count. So, and then the last thing would be spread the word, tell people about it, because aside from it being a fundraiser, I think it's going to be kind of a fun event. It's definitely going to be fun for myself and the team, but it will also be fun if people want to follow along. The plan is when we do the climb, we're actually going to do posts as we make the climb so people can actually follow the progress as we go up the mountain. You can go on the website and donate through there if it's something you want to do. There's a link to the Twitter feed if you want to just click on that and see what's going on. And then if you also wanted to just reach out to the foundation, Dawn's here, she can answer questions, but slower than the average person. It's going to take me longer, there's no question. I'm going to start at 3 a.m. So we're going to sleep there at the trailhead the night before, start at 3 a.m., and if I can get down by sunset, I'll be happy. Based on last year, looking at just all the patients we've treated, we estimated to be about 250 that we would have used the device for. But when we look at the number of patients that did out-migration as far as going to a different, like going to Boise to have access, we get up to about 350. And I think, to be honest, it could be even more than that. Time would tell, but I mean, to be able to, impact the lives of 350 people a year.
Well, Dr. Myers, thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is a token of our appreciation.